So this morning, Robert Jenrick, a man who until very recently was a Conservative MP, who then defected to Reform, and then who Reform have given the grand title of Shadow Chancellor, despite the fact that his party has 8 MPs and no actual shadow of anything, flew up to Leeds, walked down a residential street with a professional camera crew, and released a video making some very serious allegations about Rachel Reeves. And on the surface, it looks like a bombshell. Unverified extremist connections, secret lunches, a chancellor in the pocket of a community power broker. It sounds alarming, right? Except most of it, none of it really holds up. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how this operation was built, what it actually rests on, and why the man who orchestrated the whole thing probably should have Googled himself before he opened his mouth this morning. Okay, so before we get into these specific claims, let's just take a second to look at what Jenrick and Reform actually did here, because the mechanics of it actually matter. Yesterday, Jenrick posted a teaser on X promising to reveal and I'm quoting here, a shocking scandal about Rachel Reeves at 8:30 this morning. Then, this morning, right on cue, out comes the walking video. Professional production, filmed on location in Leeds, the whole thing designed to look like an investigative journalism rather than what it actually is, which is a political attack ad. And then, conveniently, Reform had their weekly press conference a few hours later, where Farage and Jenrick doubled down on the same claims in front of actual journalists. More on that tomorrow. Now, here's the thing about this sequence. If you actually had evidence of genuine wrongdoing by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, what you'd do is you'd take it to a journalist. You'd go to the BBC or Sky or Telegraph, and you'd say, here's what we found and here's the evidence. Run it. You wouldn't do this and release it yourself as a political social media video timed to land just before the spring statement. The reason you do it the Reform way, the social media blitz way, is because you want the allegation in the public conversation before anyone has a chance to check whether it's true. So let's actually check it. Jenrick opens with this.
Here in Leeds, where Rachel Reeves is the MP, 1 in 4 aren't working. Now, you'd think the person in charge of the economy would be focused on fixing that.
Okay, so 2 things wrong immediately, and one of them's almost funny. Rachel Reeves is the MP for Leeds West and Pudsey, not all of Leeds. Leeds is a city of about 800,000 people, represented by multiple MPs. Jenrick's framing implies that she's somehow personally responsible for the entire city, which she isn't, but that's almost the minor issue here. The bigger one is the 1 in 4 aren't working. That figure almost certainly refers to economic inactivity, which is a completely different thing to unemployment, and Jenrick either knows that and chose not to mention it, or he doesn't know it, which would be embarrassing for someone who's pretending to be the Shadow Chancellor. Economic inactivity includes students, retirees, carers, and people with long-term health conditions. It's not the same as unemployment. Actual unemployment in Leeds, as with most UK cities, sits around a few percent, not 25. When Jenrick says 1 in 4 aren't working, he is taking a statistic that includes your retired gran, your university students, and the people with serious illnesses, and presenting it as evidence of jobs catastrophe caused by Rachel Reeves. So in a sense, he's just cherry-picking a statistic and deliberately misleading you. And that's the very first thing out of his mouth. Then we get to the main event, the claims about Ashad Katana, the anti-Semitic statements, conspiracy theories, hosting extreme preachers. Reform alleging all of this.
Instead, she's been hanging out with the man she describes as her friend, Arshad Katana.
Pleasure to be here with you this evening.
A man who shared a military video, which also glorified terrorists from 2 terror groups, who said that those who speak against Islam are an evil gang who he will help to destroy, who's hosted preachers at his Leeds mosque with vile views. One said we shouldn't use Google because it's run by the Jews. Another is infamous for supporting a despicable Islamist murderer. Arshad has shared conspiracy theories about 9/11 and an international lending mafia backed by Zionist Rothschild criminals. He's called for revenge against India and for everyone to get together and finish these evils on earth. And he said he would only support Reeves and Labour if they do what I demand. Why is Reeves friends with this man? Why is she hanging out with him time and again since 2010? Why is she asking his views on foreign policy? And why is she going around to Ashad's house as Chancellor for lunch? Shouldn't she be focused on getting your bills down and bringing back good jobs A reform government won't be for people with views like Arshad's. We'll be for you.
Now, Labour have suspended Katana pending an investigation, so they've clearly decided the allegations are serious enough to warrant looking into. That matters, but suspension pending investigation is due process, it's not a verdict, and it's explicitly not confirmation that everything Jenrick alleged is true. The BBC has reported the suspension and the approach to the mosque for comment. The specific allegations themselves have not been independently verified by any major outlet. What's been confirmed is that Reform made them, and Labour's responded. And here's Labour's response to the claim that Reeves knew what she was doing. These abhorrent views are clearly not shared by the Chancellor. She was not aware of these allegations, which is, when you think about it, an entirely coherent position. Politicians meet hundreds of community figures, faith leaders and local organisers over the course of a career. Reeves herself posted publicly on Facebook in 2019, openly, with his name in the caption, about attending Friday prayers with the mosque alongside a local councillor. That's not the behaviour of someone conducting a secret relationship. That is an MP doing constituency work and posting about it on social media. The question of whether she knew about Katana's alleged private views and statements is a completely separate question to whether she attended community events at his mosque, and Jenrick is very deliberately treating them as the same question. And now we get to the part with the video where I ask you to hold on to your drink, because this one is something else. While Jenrick and Farage were up in Leeds or wherever they were doing their press conference, someone thought to have a look at what Nigel Farage, the man who coordinated the press conference and stood alongside Jenrick, endorsing all these claims, had actually been up to in Leeds himself. And on July the 2nd, 2013, Nigel Farage, then UKIP leader, tweeted this. Yep, that's the same mosque, the same building, the same community that Jenrick flew to Leeds this morning to stand outside with and treated evidence as Rachel Reeves' dangerous judgment. Farage didn't just attend, he also enjoyed it. He tweeted about it publicly. He used it as her community engagement content, which again is exactly what politicians do when they visit mosques and churches and temples and community centres, because that's the job. The BBC confirmed this today, and Farage's response was, when he was asked about it at the press conference this morning, was this.
A picture of you visiting his mosque in 2013 and saying how much you enjoyed visiting it and meeting Mr. Katana. Does this show any double standards?
No, I met him once. As I said earlier, you could meet someone once, but that's a day on which you probably met on a photograph with 100 people. Yeah? Do you see the point? This is, this gotcha stuff with just one photograph, this is not the argument that Robert's making.
Right, so one photograph of Farage at that mosque is gotcha stuff that means nothing. But years of Reeves attending community events, there's a shocking scandal that needs to explain herself for. Jenrick even said this at the same press conference.
There is a world of difference from a visit and somebody or other posing with them for a photograph.
He said that about his own party leader at the same press conference, apparently without noticing. So, to recap, Reform's self-appointed shadow chancellor, 8 MPs, no mandate, pretending title, flew to Leeds to film a professional attack video making serious, unverified allegations about the chancellor, based on misleading statistic and about a relationship with a man whose mosque the Reform leader himself visited, enjoyed and publicly praised 13 years ago. And when that was pointed out, the answer was essentially, well, rules for thee, but not for me. That's not a scandal about Rachel Reeves, as he was promising. That's disinformation operation that's collapsed on its own launch day. Tomorrow we're looking at the press conference itself, where the journalists in the room had every piece of this information available to them, and they still didn't ask the most obvious of questions. That one's a different story, so I'll see you in the morning.